So I'm going to preview this. And looks like we have an error, so let me go ahead and quickly fix this. We need this to be like so. There we go. So we've gone ahead and looks like we have a view all link, which links to view.php, and we currently have 3 different pages in our paginated example. And if you look at the bottom here, you'll notice page equals 1, page equals 2, and page equals 3. So let's go back here, and one other thing that we need to do out here at the bottom just after this is we need to echo out a closing p tag, because I missed doing that. There we go. Okay, so we have the pagination displaying correctly. Now let's actually display the records. So let's start out creating our table, kind of similarly to what we did in the view.php. So we're going to echo out table, border equals 1, cell padding equals 10. And that's just for basic styling. And then we're going to echo out the first row in that table, so tr, and we're going to echo out a couple headers to indicate what data we're dealing with. So ID is 1, first name, last name, and then a couple and then finally this one here. And these empty table headers are simply for the links that we're going to be adding in to allow us to edit and delete the records within this table. Okay, so that's that. And let's also come down here and echo out the closing table tag. Okay, like so. And the last bit that we need to do is we need to actually create a loop. So similarly to what we did up here, we're going to use, up here in the for loop here, we're going to use another for loop. So for, and I'm just going to reuse that variable. So I is going to be equal to the start variable that we created earlier, that we created up here. And then we're going to do, well, I is less than, what did we call it? End. I++. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we do want to make sure that we don't accidentally run into errors. For example, say we only have 8 records in the database, and we're going to be showing 3 per page, so that means we're going to have 3 pages total. But the last page of that data set will only have 2 records, not 3, and we don't want to actually cause an error when it tries to access a record that doesn't exist. So I'm just going to make sure that we're only trying to show results that actually show up in the database. So I'm going to check that with if I equals the total results. We're going to break out of the loop, like so. Otherwise, we'll continue. What we're going to do is we're going to simply use this query here that we got the results from the database, and we're going to use that query to display the records. I should point out that there are multiple ways to do pagination, and this may not be feasible for a database that has a lot of records. When you're talking about, hundreds or thousands of records, you may not want to do a select star. At the very least, you want to do a select with the specific columns that you need. But if you have a huge amount of records, you may be better off splitting what we're doing here into 2 separate queries. First, a query that finds the total number of rows in the database, and then another query that uses the limit statement to only pull the necessary records that you need. But we're going to assume that our database is relatively small, it has few records, and we're just going to keep this simple. So we're going to go ahead and find the specific rows that we need. So I'm going to do result, and we do that with the dataSeek function. So we're going to do dataSeek, and it takes a variable for the specific row we're looking for. In this case, since we're in a loop, we're going to set it using I. And then we actually get those column values using row equals result and the fetch row function, like so. And now let's actually echo out the table row. So echo tr, and let's echo out a closing table row. Within that section, we want to have a data cell, close that out, and then this is the column for ID. Actually, let me back up briefly. Let me just comment out what we started here. So we've gotten this far. Let me actually show you what this variable holds. So I'm going to do a print r on this. So what row is going to return is it's going to return an array with all the values from the database for that particular row. So let me preview this. And you'll notice we have an array, and 0 represents the ID, 1 represents the first name, and 2 represents the last name. So with that settled, let me uncomment this. So this is the column for the ID. So we access that with row at 0. And I'm just going to copy and paste this. The second column is going to be row at 1 for the first name, and third column is going to be row at 2 for the last name. And then finally, this column will include our edit and delete links. So td, we're going to do edit.php, and we're going to pass it the ID value. And we're going to finish this off. And the actual ID value is going to be set using row at 0. Now to delete, basically we can just copy and paste. Change this out to delete. And we should be done. Let's check this and see how we're doing. Okay, so we're showing 3 records per page. This is the first page, second page, and third page. And you'll notice if we remove the page variable and just view the page without that, it defaults to the first set of records. And obviously you can switch to view all, and it'll show you all the records in view.php. And so let's do one final thing. Let me go show the file browser. I'm going to go ahead and edit view.php. Let me go back here briefly. And this is what I need. So I want to add view all and view paginated links to view.php so it's easy to switch back and forth. So just up here, I'm going to go ahead and add that in. So I'm going to go ahead and give the view all link a bold tag and remove the actual link because that's on the page that we're on. And then I'm going to add view paginated a like so, and then we close off the P tag, and let's preview, and I believe we're all set. Okay. Ooh, missing and closing B tag. Here we go. Okay, so obviously view.php shows all the records, and we added links up top to either view all or view just the paginated example. And if you click on that, it limits the number of records that display per page, so you don't have a huge overload of data. So hopefully that's helpful. Feel free to comment or send me a question if you need any help, either through my email, ben@killersites.com, or through the Killer Sites forums at killersites.com/community. Thanks for watching.